never thought I could genuinely say this. It's perfect. Everything about this is perfect. I've never been so happy to sit down and watch an episode of SAO and just like dive for the next episode of SAO. It's really captivated me from start to finish so far. Um, Today is Saturday. Episode 3, I believe, drops, I think, an hour from now on Hulu. So I'm gonna have to watch that later. But in the meantime, I'm gonna recap episode 1 and 2, and then when episode 3 comes, I'll do the recording for that as well. So, man, there's so much to say about this. It's so good. I've never been pulled in this fast by SAO. Um, One thing I could definitely say, SAO so far has done a really stellar job when it comes to like for the season at least has done a really stellar job in its animation, and the OP is addictive. I already have it on my soundtrack and I'm listening to it every day. It is so good. It's worth it. It's worth actually sitting there and listening to. Um Now for the story actually seems pretty coherent. The story seems pretty fair. It makes a lot of sense. And well, that's kind of what I'm going to do today. I'm going to review episode 1, review episode 2, and then I'm going to go into episode 3 when episode 3 drops later today, which is gonna be like later in this episode. I'm probably do like maybe 8 minutes per episode, and 8 minutes episode, 8 minutes, like not 8 minutes, like 5 minutes episode per review, just to explain what happened and then get my personal opinion, which is about like 2-3 minutes. So let's start with episode 1, Underworld. And episode 1 was a really nice kickoff to the series. It was, I think, an hour long, or like 45 minutes, something like that. But it was like an hour long air date on October 7th. And our Underworld was a really nice way to kick off season 3. Um we start off with Kirito waking up in a new VR environment, so a new virtual reality game, something we haven't really seen before. It's not SAO, it's not ALO, and it's not GGO. It's different. It's interesting, and we see him with his friend Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm so sorry. Yu-Gi-Oh, and they're basically trying to cut down this tree. It's not really clarified till a little bit later in episode 2, but long story short, you gotta cut down this. They're trying to cut down this tree. Ancestors has tried to do it. It's not working. Well, it's not getting effectively done. And eventually, their friend Alice shows up to basically bring them lunch. It's really nice, this dynamic, because the dynamic is interesting to see a trio in an episode that normally in a series that normally has a duo. So I could definitely take this. I could definitely take a trio. And they decide to go explore a cave. They decide to go explore a cave in the outskirts of what is considered the human territory of this new VR world. And initially, initially Alice in particular is against it because it's A, against Yu-Gi-Oh's calling and Kirito's calling, and B, it's also against the taboo index, which is something that'll be explained a little bit later. So they go explore this cave. I think they were trying to get ice, and they do get this ice to some degree. They also find a dragon skeleton, which is pretty interesting, and a sword that Kirito tries to pick up, and thank God he doesn't, because that'd be the most overpowered instant. He literally just like picked up the sword, like, come on, we're doing this again, but he doesn't. He can't be able to pick it up, but he can't hold it properly. So that's a plus. And I guess on their way out, they get confused. They don't know really what way to go to exactly leave. So they end up going in one direction, and they end up going in the wrong direction, where they end up walking towards like the end of the human territory, which is considered against a taboo index if they do. And while they're standing there, they're about to turn around. They see a fight going on between um a dark guardian, I guess. I don't know. I didn't get the name of it. And an integrity knight. And long story short, the dark guardian falls. Alice reaches out to help, but breaks the taboo index, and that's not good because break the taboo index, you get taken away. You get taken away. So Alice breaks the taboo index, but like it's nothing serious. It's just like her, I guess like 3 or 4 5 fingers out of her whole body. I mean, come on, it's nothing major. I mean, you could live without those 5 fingers. You don't need. I mean, you probably your life be a lot more difficult, but you could probably live with 3 to 5 fingers with 2 out of 5 fingers. Oh God, no. Um, so hopefully they just like rush back to the town, hoping nothing really happens, nothing goes down, and for the most part, the night seems to go okay. But the next morning, however, the Integrity Knight shows up to take Alice away for execution. Kirito tries to stop him and is effectively taken down. Well, not taken down. He's not knocked unconscious. He's just like beat it. I don't even know how to describe it. It's not like he was restrained. No, first he was just like knocked off his feet. I don't know how to explain that. And then he was restrained. While his friend Yujiro tries to help Alice, but to no degree due to something stopping him. It says to Blue Index in his eye. I'm really confused about that. That definitely confused me. And then we wake up. Well, Kirito wakes up. Kirito wakes up in a lab and with no memory of what happened. He doesn't remember a thing. Doesn't remember what happened in um this new world that he's in. And well, then we skip to them being in Gun Gale Online, which is pretty interesting. I thought they would start us off in ALO, but no, we go to GGO, which is better in my opinion. I love GGO. Um, so it's Shion, Kirito, Asuna, Silica, Elizabeth, and I think Klein. I think it was those six, and they're basically fighting a squad. It's not Squad Jam. It's not Squad Jam. At least I don't think it's Squad Jam. But these guys are like flat out player killers trying to kill them. Why? No idea. Um, After the squad's being taken down, Shion asks, Shion, Shion, oh god, Shion asks, Kirito and Asuna to meet her at Agil's cafe to talk about the upcoming bullets of bullet, bullets of bullet, bullets of, Jesus, I can't say those words in conjunction, bullets of bullets tournament, and they agree. Where then Kirito actually, Asuna pulls out her phone, which is tracking Kirito's heart rate. I wonder why. Don't know. It's a little creepy if you think. Ask me. But he then explains his part-time job, which is actually what the game was about. How he's been working with with a company called RAF to test a new full dye technology known as a soul translator, and it's initially like something like it's new. It's something that we haven't really seen before. It's pretty interesting to consider. Translating your whole soul into a game, but still, that's also a little weird. Where time could go by, I guess, accelerator rate. I don't know. He explained it better than I could. Just go watch the episode. And well, then they leave. They're on their way home, and Kirito and Asuna are attacked by Johnny Black, one of the laughing cop, one of the last laughing coffin member, who actually pulls off injecting Kirito with a deadly poison, and that's where the episode cuts. So, I bet you can imagine my little bit of my anger with the fact that it cut like that. It was just sudden. It was unexpected. I didn't see it coming. It just like automatically just went. He got injected. Kirito, I guess, stabbed him in the leg with his umbrella, and next thing you know, boom, cut black. So I'm just like, what happened? Now I want to know more. This is something they've done really good for this season so far, at least for episode 1. They managed to keep me compelled in a story that normally I probably wouldn't have been paying too much attention to. Woo! We're in a new world. Things are different. Things are definitely different. We don't know who Yujiro or Alice are. We don't know what exactly happens to either one of them at the end of the first episode, and that's a really good way of pulling people back in. Leave things on a cliffhanger. Leave events open, and it makes it easier for an author to come back later and be like, "Oh, I left these guys X, Y, and Z. Now we can come back to them later." I feel like the first episode, a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it like maybe an 8.5 out of 10. I don't know, like there was like a little small things off about it that didn't give me like a 9. And no episode's perfect. I probably would never give episode 10. But it's a really good start to a really good season. I already know the season's gonna be good. I haven't read any synopsises or anything, but for episode 1, I would grant it an 8.5 out of 10. Now let's get to episode 2, which is personally what irritated me the most between the last week and now. Alright, episode 2. Let's go. Episode 2, The Demon Tree, kind of just picks off where episode 1 left off, but not really, because At the end of episode 1, we're seeing Kirito basically go and basically dying from a poison injection in the streets with Asuna. And in episode 2, we wake up in Underworld again. It's weird. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm trying to I don't know why they repeated this. However, this time Kirito doesn't wake up with his friend Yujiro. He wakes up in the middle of a forest, and this time he actually remembers the outside world, which is one of the conditions that you're supposed to have when you go into the underworld. You're not supposed to remember the world you have outside of that. You're not. It's like a separate world altogether. So it's kind of a different scenario. Kirito wakes up in the middle of a forest, doesn't know where he's at. Well, he knows where he's at this time, but to some degree. And he decides to just look around. He eventually finds Yujiro, which doesn't recognize him. So I'm guessing this is like another version, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay, so first of all, let me clarify a few things. Kirito in this version is actually 16 as opposed to him in the original Underworld, I guess, being 12 or 11. Yujiro is also 16 or 17. Um, things time has passed, but I guess this is like another alternate version because Yujiro doesn't recognize Kirito at all. Like has no doesn't recognize him at all. Treats him as like a foreigner. Um, this episode wasn't really that interesting. They're just talking for the most part. Like Kirito's trying to get his bearings. Yuji's just doing his normal job. However, we do find out towards the end of the episode, like at the very end of the episode, that Kirito can actually use his sword skills from SAO, which should be pretty interesting to see in a new world. I want to see how they work, if they clash or not. We don't know if Kirito can dual wield yet. Most likely, he probably will be able to have the chance to eventually, based off the trailers. But episode 2 doesn't really do a lot to the story. It doesn't really advance the plot by any means. Does it leaves us with a lot more questions than it has answers for the end of episode 1. Um, we don't know what Kirito's body state is at the moment. We don't know where he's at. We don't know what happened to Asuna. We don't know what happened with Johnny Black. We don't know why time has passed. It's like a whole like this world is nothing like what we had episode 1. This is kind of like the biggest flip. Episode 1 had a lot like start to world building, had a lot of had like a decent amount of introduction to new characters. We had two new characters to be introduced to. And then episode 2 is just like we're getting reintroduced to one and we're being given like so many questions without a lot of answers. Um Not gonna lie, this wasn't a disappointing episode. The only part that was disappointing was the fact that it ended so fast. I felt like for a 30-minute episode, or well, like about a 25-minute episode, it ended pretty fast, and that was not really satisfying in the grand scheme of things. Um, However, I can't say if I were to scale this episode out of 10, it's getting a 7. It's still passable. It's still like it gives people a reason to come back. It gives people a reason to come back for more because now they have so many questions. Like, will the next episode answer those questions? So, I'm about to watch episode 3. Hopefully it goes and answers some of my questions. Um, yeah. So I'll be back in like maybe what 30 minutes when I record that episode. So yeah, episode 2, 7 out of 10. Still a little confusing, but hopefully episode 3 clarifies some things. Let's get to it. I just watched episode 3 and I am getting really irritated by these cliffhangers. This has reached the point of you're killing me now. 30 minutes is not enough. I need a 45-minute episode every Saturday if I'm going to actually be satisfied with this series. Oh my god, the cliffhangers is ridiculous. Episode 1, he leaves on a cliffhanger of whether he died or not. Episode 2 is just like too much questions that need to be answered. And now episode 3, um we have Selka being kidnapped. Well, not kidnapped, but captured. And we have the boys being attacked. And like, what's going on? Like, are you gonna like? Oh god, I'm so irritated. I just want like a straight answer for once in my life when it comes to this series. This is episode 3 of season 3, and we're still getting cliffhangers. And I'm gonna have to wait till like what? Maybe episode 5 for episode 5 for like questions from episode 2 being answered. Like this is ridiculous at this point. I want to know where Kirito is in real life. Why is he in this game? And oh yeah, what happened to Asuna? It's just like I'm genuinely annoyed. But let's get into this episode. So this episode kind of just this episode's kind of the next day. So where we left off episode 2 at, it's the next day where Kirito and Egio, I feel like I'm saying it weird every different time I say it. Egio is basically well, Kirito's with Eugeo and he's doing his calling and they're trying to cut down the tree and Kirito's just like, this is taking too long. We got to figure out another way to make this go faster because he kind of wants to guess break the calling, like not break the calling, but like get Eugeo out of doing his calling. So Kirito's like, is there any other way we can make this go faster? The process is too slow. And Yujo's like, well, I'm not sure. But then he remembers something. Apparently, in the time between what happened 6 years ago in this alternate timeline, I feel like I'm confusing myself at this point. But let me clarify. So in this world, the world Kirito is currently in, the events that happened with Alice happened, but Kirito just wasn't involved. So like none of Kirito's actions made a difference in the long term. So Alice still got kidnapped. Well, Alice didn't get kidnapped. She got taken away by the what's it called, Integrity Knight. So like everything that happened, just that Kirito didn't exist to make an anomaly. Alice made the anomaly on her own, which is even weirder when you consider it because it was Kirito's initial action to push them to do the anomaly, and Alice was a really straight-laced person to even commit an anomaly in the first place. So it's just a matter of how did Eugeo manage to convince her, which is another big question itself. Um, so yeah, the events that happened in episode 1 happened again, but like just without Kirito. And so back to Eugeo and Kirito in the current day, 6 years in the future. Well, what's considered the present for them. Um, basically, they're trying to cut down the tree, and Kirito thinks this gotta be a way we can make this go faster. And Eugeo remembers that over the time after Alice got taken, he went to get the sword that was in the ground next to the dragon skeleton. It took a few months for him to get it to the what's it called, to the town, but he finally managed to pull it off. And he decides to go get it. That sword is heavy. That sword looked like it could, like if you dropped on your foot, you're getting a deamputated foot. It's ridiculous. So he managed to bring it to Kirito. Kirito tries to strike the sword into the tree and does one tick of damage. That didn't work. That did not work at all. It actually was counterproductive. If anything, the axe is doing more damage. And we find out later why it doesn't do that much damage, but still, come on, the axe could have done the axe could have done more damage in that one strike. So, long story short, they go and Kirito basically tries to break the tree, tries to like cut the tree down a little faster with no avail. And then we find out a little bit more about this game schematics. We find out about life points, how everything has a life point, even Kirito, and his already dropped a bit. Um, we find out that there's also like set levels of when you can use the item or not. So, say for example, Kirito was at level 36, well, I guess level 36 you can consider it, and his ability to use the sword, he had to be at level 45. So it's kind of an interesting technique to make sure that like, you don't be overpowered. Even though Kirito's probably gonna find a way to be overpowered anyways. But regardless of that, it's actually really interesting to see it like that. So Kirito has a conversation with Alice's little sister Celica, and um, Celica basically wants to know what happened to her older sister because she's been left out of the loop the entire time. No one would tell her. Um, Eugeo doesn't talk to her, and she kind of has a crush on him. I'm not sure that was like 95% established, but we don't know that for sure. Um, and it's like Celica wants to know, and Kirito, unbeknownst to why everybody was not telling her, tells her what happened to her sister and tells her what caused it. And lo and behold, guess who tried to do the thing? So next day, Kirito figures out that Celica probably ran to the mountains, grabs Eugeo and runs off. And before they get to the dark path, the dark territory, I guess that's what they called it. Um, they get cut off by goblins, and we kind of get a scene similar to episode 1, where it's like Kirito's ready to strike, well, to some degree, fight, and then Yu-Gi-Oh is paralyzed in fear, and well, Seleka's unconscious. But this is a weird thing. They keep repeating certain events, and it's kind of getting weird. Like this is the second time Yu-Gi-Oh's been paralyzed by, I guess you could say fear, but like there's something else in play that's not just fear. However, as a whole, this episode was actually not that bad. This was actually a pretty good episode. Um, I feel like if I didn't get the cliffhanger, it would be ranking higher. But episode three's ranking would be a 7 out of 10. Now, the reason why I didn't give it an 8 out of 10 was for the simple fact that like I keep getting cliffhangers, and I want some answered questions answered. I want some of them answered. I want to understand what's going on with all these what's wrong what's up with all these divine knights and whatever they call it. Um, what's Kirito's body in real life? What's going on with Asuna? Um, I just have a lot of questions, and I feel like this episode didn't help me answer any of them. So yeah, that's episode three. Episode 1 through 3 are personally really good episodes to start off the series because it keeps people invested, and that's what it's doing to me. Like it's keeping me invested to the point that it's irritating me. Um, however, episode 1 through 3 average around about an 8. Um, actually no, average around a 77, but overall, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. Start off to season three. I personally like them. So I'll see you next week. So I can actually start doing these or I could actually do these day by day. When I review episode 4 of SAO Alicization. I will see you next time. Hope you enjoyed my review episode 1 through 3. Um, if you want to see more SAO content, um, click the box on the left for my personal rant on why SAO is actually a pretty good series and needs to get a little bit more respect. And if you want to see some My Hero What Ifs, click the box on the right where I show my what if Deku didn't get accepted to UA, which has gone pretty good. So yeah, have a great day. Don't forget to join me on Discord where we can chat later. Peace.